Tonight on the Invention Laboratory, we elaborate on podcasting and how it can benefit your creative business and marketing processes. It seems these days everyone has a podcast. Everyone's written a book. Everyone has a YouTube channel. And while it's easy for that to sound derogatory, it's anything but. These business tools are becoming the norm, and when you don't participate, you're the one left holding the bag. People question why you haven't taken the leap and whether you have anything of substance to offer outside of your resume that's filled with traditional education accolades and relative work experience. The reality is, 95% of your future customers or business partners will never see your resume, but they will see your advertising, your social media presence, and eventually your sales numbers should they request them. MBAs get skipped past faster on a resume than McDonald's work experience used to when recent grads would apply for their first entry-level job. Your ability to stand out from the pack can mean the difference between landing that in-person licensing presentation or getting stonewalled by the gatekeeper like a pop-up filter on Google. Resumes and business proposals are now starting to come with media attached. Demo reels, video cover letters, or at the very least, a list of your active social media accounts. LinkedIn is leading the charge in that regard. People have finally realized that employers, business partners, and company liaisons use social media to determine the risk and reward of possible collaboration. So instead of hoping that background check yields positive results, people are nipping it in the bud by providing context and guidance for those results. Letting their imagination do the work is never a good plan, no matter how positive an image you think you've portrayed. This is especially critical when you're dealing with inventions and intellectual property. After all, the entire industry is based on confidentiality and not sharing your information with the public until the time is right. Podcasting as an inventor is a tricky endeavor, but it's arguably one of the most valuable tools. Remember episode 5, the show about verbal vortex and what it takes to get everything down on paper? There isn't a better way to verbally explain what you're trying to achieve than to write a podcast episode knowing that people can't see anything. You're forced to use your words to build your product. That alone is enough of a reason to start a podcast. Undersaturation is another positive to this medium. There are 31 million YouTube channels, but still fewer than 1 million podcasts in the world. Podcasts are niche-driven, and you can't get more niche than basing your podcast around the creation process of an invention. It'll change every time you create something new, and like most educational tools, you will build and learn from costly mistakes. By the time you start working on your third project or product, the process, though it's still subject to change, will be fluid and mappable. You'll be able to see what worked really well and also where you failed miserably. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room so we can move on. Confidentiality. How do you handle this so that all of your hard work isn't for naught? Well, you have a few options. Number 1, creative misdirection. You can base your podcast on a product or project that already exists. This allows you to focus on process and not product details. You can talk about the ways that you conducted research, how you built your first handmade prototype, what type of protections you put in place when hiring professionals, your goals for intellectual property coverage, and the type of license agreement that you're hoping to obtain at the project's conclusion. The second option is public domain. If you're working on a project that isn't patentable due to public domain, there is no issue. As long as you aren't stepping on the toes of other creators, you're free to move about the country. Private label product developers often do this because it's exciting to see why creators choose that product, or what they didn't like about what already existed in the marketplace. How did they plan to get a leg up on the competition? And brand implementation is just as exciting as developing a new product. How you created your logo, what type of packaging you're implementing for retail displays, where did you purchase the UPC code, where are you going to sell the product, or something as simple as socially responsible packaging solutions. Option 3 is to file a PPA, or a provisional patent application. This will give you 12 months to perfect your product, gain support, create buzz, acquire capital, and file your IP with the USPTO at the conclusion. After you receive a receipt from the USPTO, you can freely use the term patent pending. If you need a refresher on a PPA, head back to episode 11. And finally, do it anyway. As a reminder, most products hit the market with no patent protection at all, and the original creators never intended to file patent protection to begin with. Traditional product life cycles make patenting an expensive and often unnecessary step to the creative process. If you combine that with the fact that 99% of people listening in are perpetual procrastinators and lack the motivation to do anything with the knowledge obtained, it's astounding. Take this podcast as the perfect example. It's a well known fact that I'm providing you with decades worth of knowledge on product development. If you follow along with the podcast, you have no reason to hire professional assistants in any other category that will require you to lose your product rights. The information that I provide used to cost my clients tens of thousands of dollars, and I'm giving it away for free. Here's the caveat: you have to be willing to do the work. The goal of this podcast is to educate my listeners so that they no longer need me. That being said, if I shared the number of people that still reach out to hire me to do the work for them, your head would explode. People are lazy. People want something for nothing. This podcast is exactly what they asked for. And I listened. I even offer an opportunity to mentor creators at a significantly reduced cost, and they still pay up to take the hands-off approach. Now, I'm not crazy. Of course, I'm going to offer services that suit every style of creator, but my dream still remains the same: that people educate themselves so that they can do all of this on their own, instead of mortgaging their homes to pursue a pipe dream. Invention development is risky, and the return on investment is long tail if the only option is to pay other people to do the work in hopes of a license agreement. If that method is the only route that you're willing to consider, you're better off playing the lottery. I'm not kidding. The chances of you picking numbers that match the daily drawing are higher than your chances of getting a license agreement. With products, people always say it's a combination of the right time, the right place, the right company. It's also known as luck. Now, there's something to be said about how prepared you are to present your project to a company and having your presentation materials perfected for that moment. But the simple fact comes down to consistency and repetition. Eventually, if you keep playing that number, it's bound to hit. What people are hoping for is the one-off that gets all the media attention. The person that played the Powerball for the first time in their lives and won $352 million. This is no different than the person who developed a product through all the traditional channels, and the first company they pitched to offered a lump sum buyout to gain ownership of the product. Does it happen? Absolutely. Will it happen for you? No one really knows. And honestly, if I showed you the likelihood in number format, you'd probably throw up on your shoes. So let's stop worrying about the things that may happen and focus on the things that you can actually control. You can spend a small fortune to hire people to buy your lottery ticket, or you can save a tremendous amount of money and create your lottery ticket. It's up to you. So as I step down off of my soapbox, let's get back to podcasting. All of the rules that applied to social media and its effects on invention development apply here. This content will serve as a benchmark for future projects, and it shows the world that you aren't just trying to get rich quick. If you are, you've picked the wrong industry. Inventors and invention enthusiasts are passionate about the hardship and difficulty of success. This is the reason people will pay for patents and never create products that go along with them. They justify the purchase with the soundbite about ownership and creativity, but they conveniently leave out the fact that patents are only as effective as your ability to enforce it. These mantelpiece dust collectors are conversation starters, and they hold the same weight as the BMW logo on your car or the Starbucks cup in your hand. The perceived ownership or the label of inventor means more to some people than the creation process itself. These people will continue to fall for marketing scams, product development kits, and educational courses that promise the world on a silver platter. They want the results fast, and they aren't willing to do the work for it. Don't be one of these people. Real creators love the process. They love watching their idea grow, and their definition of success is much different than those sleeping on silk and peeling off $100 bills like they're toilet paper to industry professionals. Put in the work and enjoy the rewards. Create with people that you care about and that care about you. Build a team that will have the guts to tell you when you're dropping the ball. The world is full of yes men, and you need them to be as far away from your project as possible. Thanks for tuning into episode 26, and as always, reach out to me with any questions you'd like to have answered in future episodes. Until next time, take care.